Hello, Sareeta. Thank you for being here with me and us because this is for a bigger purpose for the book on innovations on health. And we are collecting legends about how people are healing themselves with different tools and experiences. Thank you for being here. And how is this topic going on for you?
Mhm. I've been experimenting with with my health for since I was pregnant with my first daughter, so probably around 12 years ago. And for me, the way I've been doing that is a lot through food. Like, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body, and how is that affecting my physical health? That's really how it started. Like, how is it affecting my physical health? Because when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, the first impulse that I had was I wanted to have a home birth. And what came to me was I need to prepare. I need to prepare my body physically for this. And so I really went on a hunt. I remember trying to find books or looking on the internet to find what is the right nutrition to support my body. And I was surprised that really 12 years ago, there was really not very much information. Actually, there was nothing. I really couldn't find anything apart from one woman who'd written a book called The Gentle Birth Method. And it was really amazing how it worked out because I found her book, and then on her website, she ran a clinic which was so close to where I was living at the time. I could walk there, and it was really amazing. So I got in touch with her. I called her, and I went to see her, and she told me that one of the things to do was to prepare my uterus, and to do that, I needed to remove, like, detox my body from dairy, gluten, and refined sugar. So she said, cut these three things out. And I remember, like, I was really ready to do anything, but I went to the supermarket then, and back then the free from section was very small. So it was one shelf. And so I went to the supermarket and I stood there and I was looking at this shelf, and I was really, what will I eat? I really just, I think I was just in a state of shock, and I really just didn't know. And that's when I then started looking at health. Like, I started going to the health food shop and really discovering that there was this whole other world that I didn't know about, and I didn't know how to access until then. And so that's really how it started, and it worked. I put, I cut these three things out, and I had a home birth. I had my daughter at home, and it was a beautiful experience. And I I didn't want any intervention. I didn't want we chose to have no vaccinations, nothing. And because I couldn't, again, it was this impulse from within that I couldn't. It's very common practice here in England that when a child is born that they're given certain vaccinations. And for me, I didn't have a reason. I didn't know the science behind vaccinations and things like that. But what the impulse that came from within was, how could a child be born without everything that they need? Like, it did not make sense to me on a much, and I didn't realize it again then, but it was a much deeper soul level. Like, how could it be that Gaia would not create, like, how we could be part of nature, and nature is so perfect. It has everything it needs. And so how could a human being, or a group of human beings, think that they know better? Like, it felt like the hierarchy was out of balance. Like, it was just, it didn't sit well with me. And so that was the impulse for choosing not to vaccinate. And I've always steered away from medication, and I think that comes from much older. So my great grandfather was a real believer in food for health. And so he was, back in India, my mum tells me that they were juicing. So they would make fresh vegetable juices and fruit juices. And there was a lot of, really taking care of how much carbohydrates, like how much refined carbohydrates they were eating in relation to how much vegetable. Like, there's a lot of control. So I think some of that also came to me, like this sense of control around food, which I've also been working on. But underneath that, there was this real essence of what you're eating really does have ripple effects on all of my bodies. And then over the this journey of becoming a mother, I kept going, like with this topic of food and how it's affecting me. And so after my second daughter was born 2 years later, I I was really drawn to a raw vegan diet. So we were juicing a lot, but a lot of vegetables at that time, and really eating a raw vegan diet. And what happened at that point, and again, I've only got this language since I've discovered possibility management over the last 2 or 3 years. But as I was eating raw, I was detoxing my other bodies too. So my emotional, my mental, but I didn't have the tools, I didn't have the inner structure, I didn't have the space or the capacity to hold all of that. So I couldn't sustain that diet. And then slowly the cooked foods came back in. And it was a big detox on an emotional level, because I now also see that becoming a mother was such a strong initiation. And I didn't have I didn't have the support that I needed in the way I needed it. So I did have support. I had my mom, I had my mother-in-law, I had family, I had some friends, and but what I needed was that support where somebody was allowing these parts of me to be there, and also allowing my own wisdom, my own way of mothering to unfold, rather than trying to help me find solutions, like trying to fix it for me. And there was a lot of that coming. And so really now I can see that there was this, I had such a strong enmeshment, especially with my mum. And it was only after she died 3 years ago that I could see that this dynamic was there in our relationship, and how much it was blocking me from stepping into my own self. Um, but coming back to the food, it's what's happening since then. So yeah, it's been quite a journey actually. So we've been through like these real stages of, I've been through these real stages of wanting to be healthy, like really thinking about what I'm eating. And like I said, the raw vegan diet, slowly slipping into a bit more cooked food. And then it was, finding out that my mum was unwell, had a terminal illness. And then after she died, I realized I really went back to old patterns of eating. So I kind of, it felt like I went completely backwards, but I couldn't really stop myself. Like the emotional eating was so strong. And it was, I can see now again that going through that and allowing myself to eat the foods that my mum would make in my childhood, and was also healing these parts of my emotional body. And so it was such a necessary process. But what was happening was I was going to trainings, and so emotionally, energetically, I was feeling really healthy, but physically, my body was not, like it was not thriving in the same way. So I was feeling a certain way, and then I'd look in the mirror and I couldn't recognize the person that I was looking at, because it didn't reflect really what was happening inside of me. And so I could see that there was this disconnect happening between my physical and then the mental and the emotional bodies. And something switched. And then earlier this year in January, I suddenly woke up and I had this impulse that I wanted to go back, or like I wanted to start detoxing again. And actually, I want to rewind just a little bit first before I go to that. Is after I so my mum passed away in 2022, and that's when I discovered possibility management. I went to some rage clubs and I was really doing a lot of the feelings work. And I wasn't able to do the first expand the box until August 2023. And after I came back from that training, I was reading The White Witch of Tenerife, and I read a few pages, and it was really this one sentence where she talks about this lemonade detox. And it feels like that was the only thing I took from that book, because I came home and I was looking this up, like, what is it? What is this lemonade detox? And then the next day I did some research, found it, and the next day I was just ready and I just started. And I did 2 weeks on just lemonade made with lemon juice, maple syrup, cayenne pepper, and water, and just drinking that whenever I felt hungry for 2 weeks, just to start cleansing. And I remember that time, I felt like I could just keep going. Like I really, the recommendation is 10 to 40 days, but I felt like my body just didn't want to stop, like it wanted to keep going. But I had a lot of people around me saying, "Oh, it's too long, you should stop." So I blocked my own knowing by other people's fears and decided to do it every 3 months for a year. And what I noticed was that I was having so much more energy, my digestive system was working so much better. I I just felt more alive. Like I could see that it was allowing me to integrate all the work I was doing in training spaces, in like healing my emotions and my thought patterns, and all of that was able to integrate more. But what was happening was I was kind of going from one extreme to the other. So I would do the detox, and then I was switching right back to the diet that I was eating before. So it was like a short integration period, and then somehow it was still not, it wasn't sustaining, it wasn't lasting. And then this January, something switched. Like we just spent 2 weeks in Portugal because I really had this impulse now that it's time for us to move. Like it's really time for us. I've always wanted to world school and travel with the children and show them that there's so much more. And I came back with this, I want to create something that's regenerative. How does that go? And it was almost like, well, if you want regeneration outside of you, it has to come from within. And so then there's someone called Dr. Morse, and he's created a protocol which is really about raw detoxing using fruits. And so I started a grape detox, and I had no idea how long I would go for. I said I would just do grape juice for even just a day, and it will be something. And I did 6 weeks on just grape juice. So every time I felt hungry, I was just drinking grape juice. And it was really cleansing me out. Like I could see, and a lot of emotions came out. So I was feeling a lot. My numbness bar is much lower. And one decision that I made through this, which usually I've kind of just figured things out on my own, apart from seeing that, you know, the doctor who gave me guidance when I was pregnant. Apart from that, I haven't really sought guidance from outside. I've really just been reading and discovering and experimenting on myself. But this time I decided to have a detox consultant. So I booked an appointment. I had an iridology session where they read the iris of my eye to see what was happening inside. And I was given a 10-week protocol of herbs and things to take. And I've just completed that. So although I only did 6 weeks on grape juice, I then slowly introduced more cooked, like actually no, fruits to start with, and then some raw vegetables. And then slowly I've now introduced more cooked, like a cooked potato in the evening with my salad. So it's fruit until the evening, and then like a raw veg and a cooked vegetable. But I've cut out grains, and I don't eat dairy and things anyway. But yeah, I've just really cut back on the cooked food. And I'm noticing that I have a lot, like my numbness bar is so much lower, so I feel a lot more. I I have more impulses, I have more energy, I have this, yeah, it's like I have more clarity. I have more clarity about what I want next, what I don't want. I can see, like I'm able to see things that were not visible to me before. And I also feel like I'm taking more risks. I also I had some days though in the middle of this detox where it was really, I was craving, like things were coming. I remembered my childhood, like being at school with friends, and we used to go to this cafe. And so I remember I'd taken my children to a dance class, and I had this impulse. And so we were driving, and so I have to call my friend. And so I called her. I said, "What was the name of that cafe where we had these burgers?" And she said, "Oh, it's closed now, but you can find the same burger in Wimpy." And so after my girls' dance class, I drove half an hour in the wrong direction to go to Wimpy to buy a bean burger so that I could have this. So I had these moments. It wasn't like I completely was able to stick to it. I really had these moments of craving chips or burgers or crisps, or for me, it was a lot of the salty, savory cheese. I remember one night going to the cinema and wanting nachos with a cheese sauce. And I've been dairy free for 12 years, and suddenly this craving for cheese came. And so I just honored that, and I allowed myself, because in the past, like I was saying, there was a lot of this control. So even when I was raw vegan the first time, it was so rigid, it wasn't fun. I really made it this way of, this is right, this is wrong. If I have it, then I'm bad and I'm failing. And it's still creeping in, but I'm really just showing that I have more compassion for myself, more space to say it's okay. Like, yes, you ate a burger, and what? Like, what's the big deal? It's okay. And so being like this space of more gentle and more soft with myself, and not being so hard.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, what I get was this intuitive knowing that began with you being a mother, like, and I really see how you integrating like the food and experimenting gave you uh, a broader perspective of yourself. So it's like also a learning environment for you getting to know yourself and your emotions, your impulses, and how much not just you but us, we use food as a way of numbing ourselves, of not being in contact with our own wisdom, and just follow also what our culture or friends or family also is doing, and that might not be serving completely us. And one thing that I also really was alive in me still is like that connection with your mother, that also brought so many different experiences also with the food, and her passing away and her being by your side in special moments, no?
Mm.
Wow. And I hear that now you're having more compassion, so you just follow also impulses, and it's okay that you have some kinds of um, needs and wants, and you follow, and it's okay because it's not linear somehow, because it's like this journey is not linear in any way. And if we go a bit more like strict, and this also unbalances can also happen because of that, how you do things. Wow. And I hear that you now feel more like like other wisdom is coming to you, and you are connected to those impulses and feel more alive. Yeah, and one thing that I really wanted you just to comment was when delivering birth, how do you think it was connected to your diet and the cleaning of the uterus, and just of those three foods, if you can say it again. So you just dropped like these three foods, and how was that helping you to really go through that journey? Because I really think that's super important. And I had a similar thing in my birth because I was a risk to have diabetes. So I really took care of what I eat it, and I also delivered a home birth. So I really wanted to know how you connect that with that experience and the differences you felt in your body, and maybe in the connection to your baby, the whole experience.
Wow. Yeah, I had one thing I can say is that, so it was, I removed dairy, so all forms of dairy, milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, like everything. I just removed dairy completely. Gluten, so I had no wheat, no rye, no barley, like nothing that was glutinous, um, and no refined sugar. So the sugars that I was eating was mostly just fruit, but nothing like, yeah, no syrups, no white sugar, no brown sugar, like really just no sugar at all. And one thing I noticed is that I really enjoyed and loved being pregnant. Like, it was such a joy. And it it was one of the it was one of the most joyful periods of my life. Both times I had I had absolutely no issues. I was able to, and I remember having friends who were pregnant too, similar times, and also some other people that I knew, like family, and they had many issues. They were in hospital. They were having, I don't know, B strep, like strep B, or I don't know. There were some things that I don't even know the names of, but you know, and like you were saying, gestational diabetes, like these were things that I was hearing, and I had none of that coming into my awareness. One thing that also I noticed is I was very guarded and of my space. And so once a friend came to me and said, oh, like something, like was questioning me very close to my birth and saying, how will you have a home birth? What if something goes wrong? And I just looked at her and I said, I'm not having this conversation. And I just turned around and I walked away. I was like, it's over. And I just did not want to engage in any sort of what if. Like it was like I didn't want to let that even into my field because I didn't want to put my energy there. Like what I had was that if I needed something, then I would figure that out in the moment. Like then that would unfold. But right now, it was, yeah, I think that's it. It was just this real being so present. Like does that even need my attention right now? And it was really no. Like this is where my attention is. It's just in this present moment, and everything is fine. And so I can really sense that. And while I was giving birth, what I had the sense of is that I was really, yeah, I really felt very centered and with myself. So it really felt like so grounding, and and also really informing the people around me to be on my team. So I had my husband and we had a midwife, and they were really just with me. Like I could really sense that they were really on my team. There wasn't so much interference. Like they weren't like the midwife would just come in very quietly, check the baby's heartbeat and walk out. She would not engage in any conversation with me. And it was really, I think that's also part of it, is really having the people around you that are going to support you in what you want. Because what I noticed is that there was, especially in my second pregnancy, my second daughter came, that the labor was much faster. And so there were moments where I was saying, I want gas and air, like, oh my God. And it was not my being. I think it was more my gremlin going, this is just too painful. Like, this is too fast. This is too much. I want it, I want something to make it easy. And because they were both so aware of what I wanted and really how I wanted it to go, they were able to be on my team and really support me through those moments of me wanting something or asking for something different to what I really wanted. Like really, they were able to see what was really me and what was the other parts. Like, and so yeah, that I think is really important, is to have that team and to be arrogant enough to say no. So I also the second time we really guarded our space, and I didn't want anyone there, like not my mum, not my mother-in-law. It was really just myself, my husband, my older daughter, and the midwife, and that was it. And and it wasn't with the intention to hurt anybody else's feeling. It was just more about, this is what I need and what I want. And so not to really be bold enough as a mother to say what you want and what you need, because I think that is so important. And one thing actually that I want to add, which I just made this connection. So when I've been discovering, as I've been kind of investigating this raw food diet a lot more, this fruitarianism and detoxing, and a lot of people have something called mucoid plaque, which is in the gut. It's like this, it kind of builds up over time as a protection mechanism. And as you detox, it comes out and it's like this long, stringy like it looks like a long stool, but it's different. It's not really like a usual bowel movement. And after I had my first daughter, I was quite weak, but I had these intense bowel movements and I didn't know what was coming out. But now I know that it was mucoid plaque. So I can see that I had this big detox that happened after I gave birth. And for me now, it is also making sense because I went through a lot of huge emotions and feelings surfacing, and I couldn't make sense of what was happening. And I think it wasn't safe for my body to let go of that while I was still carrying her. But as soon as she was born, my body was ready to let go of this. Yeah. So it was like this big. So this could also happen.
Wow, Sarita, thank you so much for your journey and connecting not only what we eat to our physical body. So it's really like this relationship that we have to the outside, to nature, to what nurtures us and how we interact with it. So I get this wisdom of maybe it's not just how you were um, having food in your family that serves you, but how you want to experiment also to clean your whole bodies, your mental body, your emotional body, energetic, and find that vitality within you. Like, and I see that journey of really empowerment of you being empowered to discover that by your own, and not just by your own, but asking for help. So that's what the shift I saw is super, because usually we think like we do this alone, but also there are people to guide us and help us and be with us along the journey. And this is, I guess, a great legend for people to hear, and also not to take, what do you say, take as a opportunity and a possibility for you. And it doesn't have to be the same, it doesn't have to be like completely the opposite, but this is a possibility to really clean your body and learn along the way like how you can connect differently to the whole bodies and find your, yeah, the connection to your impulses, the ones that come like more from your center, your core, and to integrate like the, the family, the social, the letting goes, the grief, and also like these amazing initiations like birth. And as you said, is like I find super inspiring that you came and told us your journey, so other people can also reach out to you and to me and to like how is that really going on. And it's really there's this knowing from also what worked for other people, and that's also a part of adding more possibilities to your possibilities. That's
Yeah, thank you.
you.
I,
Any final word
I
from
do. Something that just came to me, which was when you said empowerment, and what I'm noticing is that as I've been on this path of taking like empowering myself with my health, I'm also passing that to my children now. So they've never been vaccinated, they've never been to the doctor, they've never had medication. And if they have a temperature or a fever, it's sleep and it's fasting. And it's not, I don't force them to fast, but they naturally just say we don't want to eat anything. Like it's just something that I've observed in them, that they naturally go on a fast. And usually within 24 or 48 hours that the fever is gone. And so what I feel so glad about is I've passed on to them this knowing, and whatever path they choose in the future, they have this reference or this map that their body has the ability to heal itself. Like it really does know what it's doing if they can make space for it to heal. And another thing, when you say about clearing out, and the sense that I'm getting more and more of is it's like a process of decluttering, like how we declutter our house. We also have to declutter our body, because for a long time, and there was a period in my life when I was younger where I thought, what can I take to make myself feel better? Like it was putting things in. And actually, what I'm finding is it's actually the complete opposite. What can I take out? Like, what can I remove from my body so that my body can be back to its optimal self? And it's like it's like the other way.
Wow, that's amazing that you land this year, because also it's part of the like grieving processes is about like letting go. And I guess um, one thing that came these last few days was really how to end cycle, how really to learn to let go more and more, and also to let go from our physical body. Because it's not really just put in, but what is coming out. And if it's not coming out, it really stays with you. Like the old stays with you. And what's not serving, it stays with you. So also to add that dimension here is, I guess it's perfect because we end the cycle.
Yes.
Ending the cycle. And also, I would like to add a note also for the people that are listening to us. So you might have some fears coming up, some reactions to this conversation because it's not the way you do things. And it's really like to be with yourself in that, with the feelings of you do not knowing how to do this. And maybe you want to feel better in your physical body, you don't know, and you're scared of trying something new that is really different from how you've been doing it. So that's where you just go and find someone to help you on this journey, to talk, to read, as Sareeta has been doing. She's reading and yeah, just getting to into curiosity more than like, no, 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 this is not the way, or this is the way. Not having this fixed position, but really like, this worked for this person and this worked for that person. So, I'm gonna try this now and see how it works. So, and it's a discovery journey. It might work, it might not work, and that's how you know. Sometimes you really need to experience something and go a bit off the limits, and then to come back, and then so that's not there, but here it's okay, and then you go more to this way, and you bring other things. As Sarit was sharing, was a whole journey of, and now it's another one. So it's like it's endless, and I would love to just share this flexibility and being a constant experimenter and seeing what worked, what doesn't. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarita. I love to meet you today, and I hope we can see each other in other spaces, and who knows, physically also.
Thank you, Joanna, for your questions and yeah, and for inviting me into this space to share.